Hi all, I thought we could revisit a very complex and interesting game this morning. It was Mikhail Tal against Dieter Keller in the 1959 Zurich tournament. So this was in round 7. Now Dieter Keller did Tal a huge favour later on in this tournament. He actually defeated Bobby Fischer with the black pieces in the penultimate round. So Tal just needed a draw then against Fischer in the final round. So Dieter Keller is not a bad player at all. Born 1936, he's still around 80 years old. He was Swiss champion of 1958, 1960, 1961, 1963, and was awarded the IM title in 1961. So around this time, he's playing in Zurich here. So Switzerland, his own place, he's comfortable. He didn't need to travel anywhere. I think he's on top gear in this tournament, really. That's the impression. This was a really great, fascinating game. Let's have a look at it. So Mikhail Tal played knight f3. We have knight f6. And Dieter Keller plays what transposes into kind of Botvinnik Slav system nearly. Bishop g5. There's a key game in just a few years back from this, Botvinnik against Denker in the USA radio match, which almost is this variation. DC, it starts off here, but in this position, in the Denker against Botvinnik game, there was e5. So maybe people, were observing that kind of Russian opening theory. Now e5 is in Denker Botvinnik could continue with this very sharp stuff with this piece sack here, and it's very interesting and very theoretical even today. So it's originally based on Botvinnik's research of this opening. You get some crazy lines there. In this game though, e5 wasn't played. There's an alternative that Tal used, a4. So he's trying to just undermine these pawns, weaken c4. Black played queen b6. It is a logical move, just supporting the pawns. If black is not careful, for example a6, I think we can just take here and then just take here using the pin. So that will be not very pleasant. So queen b6. There might be an alternative in bishop b4. Just pinning that knight, and the game could run like this, which it's been seen before, but actually white ends up slightly better here. So that's interesting. So queen b6 is a really solid, a good move here, I believe, by Dieter Keller. So he's not Swiss champion for nothing. So bishop takes f6 is an interesting decision by Mikhail Tal. Fundamentally, what is he doing? He's giving up his dark square bishop, and he's letting black have potential pressure on this G file. So there's two things about it. But Tal seems to be keen on blowing the center wide open here. That's his idea. He wants to eventually perhaps play d5 to blow the center wide open. We have G takes f6, not much else. Bishop e2 now. Calm move before the storm here. Bishop e2, as if white's just going to castle kingside. A6, black is just waiting for white to maybe castle kingside. And in fact, yes, even though there's an open road to white's king, white does castle kingside. If you remember, in the Botvinnik system, sometimes black can actually get quite aggressive here and maybe even castle queenside later and use things like the G file. And with bishop b7, there's also potential coordination of the bishop and the rook on this G file. And if black later plays c5, it could get scary. And in fact, you might think, well, because of this, you don't really want to extend the scope of black's bishop on g2. So this starts to be a little bit, it's not totally one way, this next move. It's a bit double-edged, what you could call double-edged d5. It's trying to blow the center wide open. But is it improving black's bishops? Black has the bishop pair, black has that G file. We have C takes, E takes. And now we have B4. Very, very interesting position. Is black going to just grab this pawn? Does the knight have to move? That would be bad, wouldn't it? No, white has a forcing move here, A5. And after queen C7, again, if the knight moves, isn't black just going to play bishop, a move like bishop takes D5? Well, it's not that simple because there's knight F6 actually. But in fact, Tal's got a different view on this position. Can you guess what he plays here? So Mikhail Tal to play. I mean, you may remember this game. I'm hoping this is a good revision for everyone. So Tal to play. If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video, what would you play with white if you're Tal? Okay, yeah, he just sacks the knight. He plays D takes E6. But let's keep our sanity here. Black does have some major pressure here on potentially this bishop coming down diagonal and the rook here. It's not just a case of trying to get to black's king. Black does accept the piece sack. And the point here is revealed. Knight D4. It's got ideas of, now with this battery here, ready-made battery of the bishop and queen, in fact, E takes and bishop H5, for example, would pin the queen to the king. Otherwise it would be very, very dangerous. But black does use the G file, that coordination now immediately with rook G8. That's his move. It gives black some key, well, there's a key threat to manage, basically. There's no time for playing for EF and bishop H5 with rook G2 around. There's no time for that. So we have actually E takes F7. Sorry, we don't have E takes F7. Tal plays this check, queen A4 check. Let me just show you something about this position. Yeah, so if instead of rook G8, I mean, that's a really, really good move. Just to show the threat, like rook A7 is just too dangerous because of this and this. That's fine. And also, by the way, if king takes F7, then this is also mega dangerous. After check, we have, for example, check here, and knight F5, checkmate. So yeah, this rook G8 it's a really good move to try and tie white down. I mean, it's a simple move, it's logical, it's using black's trump cards. Okay, so anyway, getting on, we have queen A4 check. Now black moves the king. He moves the king. If he plays, you might think knight C6 is an option, but actually this E takes F7 here is dangerous. For example, like this, check, winning the queen is not very nice for black. And also, if queen takes, then we simply take on C6. Thanks very much. And this stabilizes for white. He stabilizes that G file. He just material up. So anyway, so after queen A4 check, yeah, we have this awkward looking king D8. Now G3, addressing black's threat. Now black is concerned about C4. If he drops C4, then things are looking even worse. So what he tries to do is protect C4. And it's not entirely clear how white smashes through, although it looks as though there was visible like aggressiveness here. How do you actually get to the black king? How? We have in this position rook FD1. This might be the case of the wrong rook. In fact, rook fd1. Yeah, there's a subtle point here. This might be the wrong rook. It might have been actually better to play rook ad1. The point being that c takes b2 isn't as annoying. It's not hitting a rook with tempo. So, example, I'll give you an example of why this is actually really dangerous. Say rook g5, f4. Takes, we can just take that rook, end of game. And say king c8. This position here, so this is with this rook moving instead of this one. Queen e8 check. This position here is now really dangerous. The rook can switch always back now to the b file. E takes f7, protects the queen and hits the rook. This position is getting excruciatingly dangerous for black, where white's just crashing through. So this was a great opportunity to use the right rook, this position, which makes this game, it starts to be very, very interesting. Yes. On rook ad1, you might also consider rook a7. Let's have a look at this. B takes here, E takes, knight f5, bishop takes c4, knight takes d6. White's ending up better, basically. So yeah, white seems to be very well placed in all lines. But he used the f rook, not the a rook. And you might wonder, well, what's the big difference here? There is a subtle difference. This in this c takes b2. Black played here actually king c8, trying to get out of the way of the dangers of the d file. But actually, technically, c takes b2 is really annoying. This is possibly the best move in the position. White has to waste time. Then c3, for example, this position, rook g5, f4. There's always bishop c5. That's the point. White's king is making it a little bit more difficult now to get to black's king, and black's actually winning here. He can exert massive pressure with his dark square bishop. White hasn't got a counterpart on the dark square bishop counterpart. That shows the dangers. It's not entirely easy to get to the black king. If that seemingly materialistic move is actually very, very useful to delay white if c takes b2 had been played. So that's why it might be the case, this was the wrong rook to have used. But black played king c8. We have b takes c3. Now here again, it seems maybe queen e8 was more accurate. For example, king b7 takes. With that queen installed there, this is a really dangerous line with the queen installed, supported by the pawn. We get stuff like this, and white's crashing through like what we've seen before. Basically, white can try and crash through the d file, and you see the rook on b1 putting king unfortunate place as well. So white would be winning there. But white didn't play this queen e8 check when he got a chance. He played b takes c3. We have bishop c5, e7, and this does a few things. E7, it immediately threatens e8 because it's protected by the queen there. And also, by the way, it's potentially opening up bishop g4 check. If it takes an e8, of course. So bishop g4 is also another road to black's king. It's a tricky move to try and meet. Very, very dangerous looking. Black plays here, trying to suppress the attacking force, knight c6, blocking that diagonal. But we still get this tricky move, bishop g4 check now. So if takes, we queen. King b7. Now here, we have knight b5. Very, very interesting move, knight b5. Possibly Tal could have considered the check. Pardon me. Instead of knight b5, the check. For example, knight f5 here. But look how dangerous this is, this pressure on white's king side. This kind of position. White ends up potentially slightly better. But yeah, it's a lot of complications to get a position where white's slightly better. Yeah, it's scary stuff. It really is. It's scary stuff. So knight b5 in the game was played instead of rook b1 check. We have knight b5 hitting the queen. The queen goes to e5. Okay, we have rook e1. Now here's a really, really critical position moment. I think possibly Dieter Keller got a little bit over optimistic based on the fact that this is fierce pressure. You know, if the bishop ever drops back, isn't there just rook takes g3 just instantly winning? I mean, seriously, if the bishop ever drops back, there's rook g3. And maybe with this next move, he just wants to keep his rook here because it's coordinating with the queen on e5. So it looks very, very tempting to keep this coordination. It seems very, you know, logical to do this. You want to keep the queen on e5, surely it's a nice central queen. But he goes into a self-pin with bishop e4, and sometimes it's not a good idea to go into a self-pin. Now, if the bishop moves, then it would be just end of game, wouldn't it? If Tal moved his bishop here, then you can see what black can do. It's a forced mate in 4. You can see the forced mate in 4 if I give you 5 seconds to pause the video. Yeah, rook takes g3 check is a forced mate in 4. Yeah, black has got enormous pressure on white's king here. So that's the idea. He wants to keep the queen. He's keen to keep the queen on e5 to just win in, you know, very, very shortly. He's licking his lips. This is it. He's licking his lips with bishop e4. But it is a self-pin. Is there something fundamentally bad about going into self-pins? Well, let's see. What does Tal play here? Rook ab1. He doesn't move his bishop. He doesn't move his bishop. And yeah, he simply threatens a double discovered check instead. With a cherry on top. Double discovered check is threatened. And you might think, well, isn't this harmless? Black is just going to take the bishop on g4. And now this double discovered check, isn't that just harmless? What is it exactly that doing? Isn't black still got a great position? Now this was basically like the only move to play, in fact. It was a dual die move, rook ab1. We see now rook takes g4. So threatening now rook takes g3 check and queen g3. Now here we have rook takes e4. Yes, rook takes e4. What is going on here? It turns out, you know, this double discover check is actually quite effective with the prelude rook takes e4. I'm not entirely sure it works out that well with knight d6 check immediately. For a start, black, well, it's a very complicated game. So let's just go with this. Rook takes e4 as the prelude. Queen takes e4 is played. Knight d6 check, and Tal wins the queen, and it gets to another very, very complex set of imbalances. But before we go into this, let's go back for the moment, for that critical moment. Did the self pin have to happen? Not necessarily. Black did actually have a really good move here. Queen g5, it seems. Technically, black, this was a great opportunity for the Swiss champion. Multi-time Swiss champion. Black would have been winning with this move, it seems. Examples. Bishop retreats here. Now, although we haven't got the smash through rook g3 because the queen's in front of the rook, bishop takes f2, check, queen h3, and pardon me, how does white defend this? For example, here he's just getting, white's getting absolutely murdered. His king's is weaker, is being proved weaker than black's king. It's just like a king hunt, basically. It's a king hunt. Yeah, queen g5, although it seems like counterintuitive, it's not going into that self pin. It seems in all lines, technically, this would have been winning. Queen g5. If h3 just f5, brushing that bishop aside, that's going to be... If knight d6 check, just to show this, we just take that. Oh, that was a bit pointless to show. If rook ed1, so the rook goes to... Let's have a look at this one. Rook ae8. Here, black is just winning, basically. Yeah, it seems that this was a major opportunity, essentially. Queen g5. Yeah, okay. Let's go back into the game. So in the game, bishop e4 allowed rook ab1. But there's an interesting idea even here. Black could even consider bishop takes b1. And in this position, better than taking the queen though, will be rook takes b1, where this position it gets really, really complicated. So both sides are really going for each other's kings, but white is better here. Technically, white is better there. Yeah, so it's really, really complex. If we'd taken, by the way, the queen, this is better for black, this position. Black's got a load of pieces. White's attack has finished, basically. Yeah, that's just better for black. All the pressure's on white's king side there. So these are really, really complex positions. Okay. So anyway, we'll go back to the game now, I promise. Knight d6 check. Tal wins the queen. It's still a load of pieces for the queen. But now, a good move with a hidden threat. A very nice, powerful move, a powerful queen move. Can you guess what Tal plays, which sets up a very, very interesting threat? Actually, there aren't too many possibilities. It looks as though, hold on a sec, I mean, what? Okay, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you Queen d1. But can you see what the hidden threat is in this position? If it was white to play. So I'm going to do a token move h6. Well, I hope you can see the hidden threat to anticipate what's coming up. Let's not show it now, because black actually fell right in to it. Unfortunately, you know, he played a fantastic game, Dieter Keller, but he's also missed some opportunities. to be significantly better. But now he plays the move Rook E5. Again, this might have been an inaccuracy, unfortunately, because Tal plays his hidden threat move. Can you see? If I give you 5 seconds here, it is actually played on the board. Okay, the hidden threat is revealed. Rook B7 check. So drag and drop tactic. Queen D7 check. This position now, queen against the 3 pieces, is really interesting. But unfortunately more interesting for white because he's picking up another piece. Now just before we go, that's towards the end of the game there. Let's have a look. Black didn't need to play Rook E5. If you'd seen this, the power of this. There's other moves here. Bishop takes E7. Maybe the strongest move. For example, Queen D5. Rook E5. This position, it's about equal from an engine point of view, but you know, Black's got a lot of pieces to play with. But even, you know, even Knight takes E7 is better than the game continuation. But here, by allowing this, we've got Queen B1 check, not Queen D7, we've got Queen B1 hitting the Rook. And this isn't so clear as the Bishop E7. White has an advantage technically. So I believe it's Bishop takes E7. If you check this with an engine, you'll find Bishop takes E7 was probably the best move there. Okay, so there was Knight takes E7. On Rook takes E7, there's Queen D5. This position is dangerous a little bit, but the engine has it as equalish. That if we arrive here, it's about equal. So yeah, it seems as though this was a mistake response, Rook E5. So yeah, we'll go back to the game now. So white is now just queen against rook and bishop here. And black actually in this position, actually he resigns. There's no point playing this on. He's just, yeah, it's not very nice at all. He just resigns here. No, this was a complex game with opportunities for both sides. It's very, very interesting how, you know, the more you can see the impact of stronger moves, you know, a stronger rook move, how that's subtly different and avoids stuff with c takes b2. Strong move queen g5 instead of the self pin would avoid, you know, white's resources of the rook e4 and knight d6 check stuff. Towards the end, yeah, the queen d1 setting a nasty trap which black fell unfortunately right into. There were three basically ways of taking on e7 which were all probably better than the game continuation, but the best of the bunch was probably bishop takes e7. Black would have still been in the game. But yeah, Tal could have been in severe trouble on that, the major missed opportunity of queen g5 instead of the self pin. So is the lesson here not to go into self pins? Well, I'm not sure what the lesson is. It was a very, very complex game, and Dieter Keller did Tal a huge favour later on in the tournament. This could have been one of the rare times where kind of the local hero would have beaten potentially two world chess champions in the same tournament. So this is a great player, this Dieter Keller. And I'll put the link of his game against Fischer for you to play through at least. Maybe we can go through that together at some point in the future, where he actually defeated Fischer in the penultimate round of this tournament. So yeah, the local hero, don't underestimate the local hero. To the foreign grandmasters visiting, they're champions not just for nothing sometimes. Dieter Keller is the unsung hero of the tournament. But yeah, he had a great game here with opportunities, great opportunities. Comments, questions, likes, appreciated. By the way, there is a slightly longer, older version of this video, which goes to over 30 minutes, which might have some variations. I didn't re-echo here. I'd actually forgot a lot of the details of that, but so I thought it would be a good revision for everyone, me and you guys, to check out this really interesting, complex game. Okay, thanks very much.